Well, folks, welcome back to Allergic to Stupidity and Political Sundays. When I first decided to do Political Sundays, I'm going, okay, this will be just till the end of April. Well, yeah, it might go longer than that, just because so much crap is happening. So my first one is we have this election coming in like 1, 2, 3 weeks on the 28th. Please make sure you get out and register. Please make sure you get out and vote. Check your ridings for early voting. Pull places to vote. You can, vote by mailing in a mail-in vote, etc., etc. There's multiple ways. Go online and find them. Having said that, welcome to anyone who's new to the channel. You're at the very beginning of my adventure of doing this. For those that are brand new, you will find it's all raw footage. I do not sit here and write up a script or do anything like that. So what you see is what you get, etc. And for those who don't know, I have 2 cats, and they're very hairy cats. So I'm always doing this because I end up with cat hair. So no, I'm not falling apart. Though some days it feels like it. So I hope everybody's got their coffee, or the whatever, and you've had a really good weekend. So I said that we were going to look at the parties. So I've looked at the 2 parties that have the greatest chance of making government this upcoming election, which is the Conservatives and the Liberals. And the first thing I want to look at is something that's semi-close to my heart, and that's housing. And I'll explain why. I have 4 plus 1 kids, and 3 plus the grandson cannot afford a house. They struggled for rent. My other one who had bought a house, they locked into the house before the prices were going up and they were getting ridiculous, but they managed to land his house just by the luck of the Irish. They had a real estate officer who knew about an old man whose wife had passed away, and he was putting himself into a retirement home because he just didn't want to be in the house by himself anymore. And so they were able to get a really good deal. But they are struggling to make ends meet. So that's one. I have another one who is literally a scientist. She has her degree in zoology. And you always think STEM people get paid a lot. She doesn't get paid a lot. Like, she's under $100,000 easily. She's not at 75 yet. Like, and she and her husband, who doesn't work outside the house. He's basically a stay-at-home daddy kind of mentality. Can't afford it. One of my kids lives with me and he's looked for rentals. He's looked at anything. He says, Mom, I just want a place that I can call my own and dump my shoes where I want to dump my shoes and not worry about Mom or any dad or anything. He says, I can't afford anything. I literally can't afford it. I have a tenant who rents for me because she can't afford housing. And I charge her 30% of her net income. Not even 30%. 30% of her net income, because that's what she can afford. And there's even times when she's tight on that. Like, she always pays me. That's not a thing. But that's how bad housing is. So that was one of the ones I wanted to look at it. And both parties, Conservatives and Liberals, have some really good ideas that I liked. So, yes, I'm a Liberal. No ifs. I've never hidden by that. But I do look at all parties' policies. And the one I have, the one on the housing that I have a problem with the Conservatives is no GST on the first million. But there's no brackets, there's no structure on who that's accessible to. Which means that I, who already own a home, could use the collateral of my home to buy another house for investment. And therefore save the GST because of that. And what that does is take away a house from somebody like my oldest, who she and her husband would love to own a little house of their own. They're not going to have kids. That's already decided. But they would like to have a place they could call their own. And they can't afford it. So when the Conservatives make it, it sounds really good. Like, it's like, yeah, no GST on the first million. Hey, that's a good idea. Like, somebody rhymed off how much that would be. It's a substantial bit. But it's opening it up to speculators, people who are going to buy, who are developers and can buy 5 or 6 or 7 new houses, save on the GST, and then flip them. Well, that's the people who, like my daughter, who doesn't have that collateral just to throw out. And those are taking houses away from people like my daughter who would like to buy a house. Okay? So, like, nice idea, but that was my catch with the Conservative one, is that anybody can get it. The Liberal one is twofold, and partially because they are in government right now. The first half of it was already there. Trudeau, Justin and his Liberals came up with this, that they had created floor plans, 4 or 5 different floor plans. I didn't really listen to it. I just went, oh, that's a good idea. And he made it reminiscent back to the 50s. Small lots, government, you're borrowing from the government. And it was for first-time buyers. So those people like myself who already own a home couldn't get involved in that at all. It would be for people like my oldest who would like a house. And now there was a limit on it. I think it was 1.5 or 1.25 or something, but there wasn't, you just couldn't get this massive house and get a loan from the government. Now, that one's obviously off the plate because the government was dissolved when Trudeau put it into prologue or whatever it's called, where he basically shut the House of Commons down while they found a new Liberal leader. But Mark Carney has brought it back up and said yes. And the other one he's brought up, which somebody screamed, well, that's just like the Conservatives. And it's like, okay, if the Conservatives have got a good idea, what the blue blazes is wrong with another party going, no, that's a really good idea. There's nothing wrong with that. Except for he basically took the same idea, but put some brackets around it and said, no GST on the first million that your house is worth, but only for first-time buyers. So there's a caveat to that. There was like, this is a really good idea, but we're limiting it to first-time buyers buying it. And I think, because I was reading it and thinking, well, that could go for my ex too. I think it's also if that claim that if you don't already own a house. So yes, my ex has owned a house before because obviously he and I have owned houses together. But I own this house. And he hasn't owned a house in 30 years. So he could go and say, I'd like to buy a house and save on the GST because it's not for an investment. He already owns a house. He doesn't already own a house. So I like that. So I sort of like the idea that the Conservatives are coming up with, okay, let's give first-time buyers, let's give buyers of a new home a break. That's going to encourage construction. Liberals, I liked it because they put some brackets on it and said first-time buyers only, no GST for the first million, but here's some plots, here's some designs, and you can borrow the money through, if I've got it correctly, if I remember this correctly, get loans through the government, which is exactly what they did in the 50s. So I really like that. That's sort of, like I said, put some brackets so you don't get speculators coming in. The other one is already out there, and that was something Trudeau's House of Commons, Trudeau's caucus came up with, was not giving money to you and me, but letting the municipalities have access to money to put in the infrastructure. And this is where I had the problem with Poilievre, because he's, no, that's Liberal money, you can't touch it. And one of his MPs out west got in trouble for directing their constituents to that money. And the idea is, you can give money to you and me to build a new house. That's great, that's fantastic. But if the city hasn't put the roads in, or the sewers in, or the hydro in, it doesn't matter that I got money to build a house. the developers are stuck. They can't do anything to the roads rate. So this was allowing the municipalities access to money so they could build the infrastructure that needs to be put in. So those were the two things that I really wanted to focus on today, was that, not two things, but that whole thing about housing. And conservatives, yes, no GST for the first, for houses worth under 1.2 or 1.3, but it was, I sort of laughed because it was roughly around $1 million. I'm going, okay, that's not a small house, but okay. But this day and age, I like that. My only, like I said, my only downfall was that there wasn't any restrictions. It could be anybody. So speculators. So the guy across the road who already owns 2 houses, if I know correctly. That's 2 of them. That one and that one. That one owns another house down the road, and that one owns a couple of houses. So that's giving them access to more houses and save on the GST, when we really should be helping the first-time buyers to get it. So that was a nice idea, save on the GST, but there's my caveat, there's my problem with it. And then the Liberals took it, went, that's a good idea, let's do it, but let's put some restrictions on it. So that's the comparison between the two parties for housing I really liked. The other part I wanted just to discuss when it comes to the politics is, if this was 15 years ago, I would not be as concerned about who the leader is as I am this time around. And the reason I'm concerned this time around is because the leader we have down south, who doesn't give a rat's. It doesn't matter what anybody says. They say, oh, well, you just stand up to him, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't care. He's already threatening Maine. I had to turn it off today because I can't stand listening to the man, but I was so disgusted. The governor of Maine was in a meeting with Trump with a bunch of other governors, I assume, and he made some snarky comment about the stupid governor of Maine. And she went, yes, I'm right here. And he went, rhymed your name off. Well, is this true that you're going to allow anybody to play in sports? Because there was a thing about trans. And she said, I follow my state laws and my federal laws. And he looked her square in the face and said, I'm the law, so you have to do what I say. And it was like, oh, schmuck. And so he's threatening not to send any money to Maine. Now, that one I think is just all hot air. But that's the kind of mentality our neighbors down south are having to deal with. So, for us in Canada, understand that he doesn't give a rat's ass about anybody. He does not care. He's going to do it his way. Which brings me to, which leader do I want? And the reason, and it's not because he's a liberal, I want Mark Carney, is Poilievre is a career politician. He's only ever dealt with the House of Commons. He's only ever dealt with constituents. And he's never been the leader of the controlling party, the party in majority. So having to deal with people who are confrontational and argumentative like Trump is, and will not take no for an answer, is not something Poilievre has a lot of experience in. Or Mark Carney, pros and cons, but he is an economist. He knows how the global economy works, and he's no nonsense. It's like, I'm not talking to you till you treat us with respect. And because he put his foot down, and because he just has that no nonsense, he's not aggressive politician, where Poilievre is a very aggressive politician. He's always ripping other people down, very like Trumpish. Or Carney's not like that, and so I like that because that's the image we have of Canada, or we put forward for Canada. He's no nonsense. He's not going to put up with crap. And he's already Trudeau was already looking other places for trade. And Carney's doing the same thing. He's looking other places. And it's like, yeah, you don't want to play ball, then we'll just take our ball and go someplace else kind of mentality, which that's how we have to deal with him. And Trump is already looking to figure out how he can get a third term. And it's just one of those things that So as you're choosing your pros and cons for each of your parties and which one you want, like I've said before, look at their policies. I've given you the links in past videos, but think about if you're a die-hard, I said it before, if you're in a riding that is, I'm just using this as an example, is very, very, very conservative. No offense, but it's going to go conservative. So you're downtown Calgary kind of mentality. But you really like NDP, then vote NDP. Put your feelings out there. Vote NDP. But if you're in a riding that's flip-flop, that might go liberal, might go conservative, but you normally vote NDP, you might want to this time vote for the party that you feel is going to be able to stand up to Trump the best and who is honestly going to address the issues that are at hand right now. Now, another plus to Carney, though the House of Commons is closed right now, but negotiations between the provinces. He wants free trade between all the provinces and territories by Canada Day. So that's May, June, 2.5 months. He has said, this is stupid. Why are we having tariffs between the provinces within our own country? So it comes across as a problem solver, where all I'm getting out of Poilievre, and unfortunately Poilievre, Pierre, all I get to is what I see. It's all I can judge him by. I'm sorry, but all I get is yells and screams. So that's sort of the leaning. But again, it's up to you. Make sure you're registered. Look for your advanced polls. Make sure you get out and vote, whether it's an advanced poll or you vote by mail-in. If you're wanting to vote by mail-in, start the paperwork now, because it does take a little while. Because it's got to get to you, and then it's got to get back to the polling station in time. It has to be postmarked before the voting date. It can come in after, but it has to be postmarked before the voting date. Just get out there and vote. If you are voting as somebody who has worked the elections, if you are voting for the first time in a riding, make sure you bring ID, and make sure you're bringing something that, if your ID is your driver's license, it will have your address on it, but also make sure you're bringing something that proves you're a Canadian citizen, that you have the legal right to vote. Anyways, that's it. That's our political Sunday. My grumbles from down south was sort of a rollover from yesterday and that speech from the Singapore Prime Minister. Yeah. That's all I can say. I've got nothing else to say when it comes to, he is not going to listen to anybody. He's going to do his own thing. He doesn't care. When I listened to him today, let's literally look at the governor of Maine and go, I'm the law. I went, oh God, my American friends are sunk. And I just don't mean they're in for 4 or 5 years. They are. Because he is in the middle of destroying the democracy the U.S. is so proud of. I put that in quote marks because they always laugh about their free country. And I'm going, you have more restrictions on you than I have in Canada and my friends in England have. Like, I often go, well, we're the ones that are free. We're the free country. We get to vote for our leaders. And Americans have actually come up to other Americans and gone, yeah, Canada has a democracy, England has, Scotland has, France has. They're like writing off 20 countries that have freedom. So with Donald Trump there, I'm hurting for my American friends. Anyways, there you go. Political Sunday. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.